I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I think the time has come for me and for all of you as well who are Catholic that you have to make a choice. You have to pick between your moral conscience and the church. You have to either say, I'm on board with Francis, I'm on board with the direction the church is going, the new moral teaching, the spirit of Vatican II, all this other stuff, or you have to leave. I think you have to realize that it's not your church anymore. They're not the heretics, they're not the schismatics. You are. Because once again, and I can't say some of this on YouTube, but the Pope has come out and reiterated his previous position on marriage that he's stated many, many times, and like always, people are saying, "Oh, it's I never heard of such a thing. The Pope's never said this before. This must just be like a one-off. This must just be that he was drunk or high or schizophrenic or something like that." And then we'll pretend that, and then we'll memory hole it, and like goldfish, will pretend that it never happened, wherein it will have a profound effect on every aspect of Catholic life. Or maybe we can do what a lot of people do, and we can go into Pope splaining mode, and we can say that Francis is based. And technically speaking, if you read the Google translated version of the Google translated version, the language that he used was actually reaffirming orthodoxy. Or if you look at this document from the ninth century and you read it at 3 a.m. with not having slept for the previous 72 hours and high on meth, then everything he said is perfectly orthodox and makes sense. And this is what's going to happen. And then we also have, I guess, kind of the third group of people. They're probably the most rational ones, and they'll say, well, this is just the Pope's private opinion. This is just him off the cuff. This is him in his autobiography. This is him in his comments. This is him issuing documents. Technically, they don't have any legal authority to bind the faithful, or whatever excuse we want to come up with. And it's like, I get that that's technically true. I guess it's technically not covered under papal infallibility. It's not technically a council and stuff like that. But honestly, it really does sound like to me how conservatives in the US sound when they have their guns taken away or their free speech taken away, and they go, but my Constitution protects me. It feels a lot like that. It's like you hold up this piece of paper and the Pope just swipes it out of your hands and rips it up. It's like, what are you going to do? And that's more or less what the entire liberal wing of the church has done. So it's Francis is just saying, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to do what I told you to do? Are you going to accept my position on marriage? Are you going to accept that you can't support the death penalty, that you can't restrict immigration, that you can't have law and order, all this other stuff? Or are you going to get out? And I guess that's the choice we have at the moment, is either you accept that or you leave. Because like I said, I can't keep doing this. It's too mentally damaging on me to have to see this, to have to deal with him, to have to deal with the media, to have to deal with mainstream Catholics, to have to deal with priests, to have to deal with bishops, to have to deal with going and dealing with this at confession, at mass and stuff like that. I just can't keep dealing with this indefinitely. There comes a certain point where you just have to go, no, you're not. It's the problem isn't them, it's you. You're the heretic, you're the schismatic, you're the person who is not in continuity with what the Catholic Church teaches, because you hold opinions that the Pope considers to be homophobic or uncharitable, or whatever word we're using at this particular time. Now, part of this, and part of my problem is, I'm in a very different position than a lot of people, I guess you could say, who are conservative Catholics or whatever. I don't have any real sense of aesthetics. I've said this many times. I don't really have a taste in music per se. I don't really have a taste in art, that sort of thing. A lot of it is just kind of informed. Like, I just like classical music because I think it's the kind of the civilizational values that it represents are good. So like, I used to go to the symphony in Toronto a fair amount, even though I didn't particularly enjoy it, because that was what I thought you were supposed to do to support Western civilization. Like me, I just like really bad, repetitive, catchy music and stuff like that. The same thing kind of with art, to be honest. In a lot of cases, I've just kind of forced myself into liking certain things that embody values that I like and are liked by other people who share my value set. And what I say about this is I just don't have the same emotional, sentimental connection that a lot of people do to a lot of aspects of the church. To the rituals, to the pomp, to the symbolism and the stuff like that. It just I have a very low emotional effect for that kind of thing. So I just when I go in and I look at it, I like churches and their beauty in like an abstract sense, but I just don't get much of an emotional effect from it. And I've never been like that particularly liturgically conservative as a result of that. Like I've passively kind of supported the Latin Mass people just because I share their political views. But the couple times I went to the Latin Mass, I didn't really enjoy it very much. I don't enjoy the experience in general. My tastes are probably a lot more minimalistic in nature. And the problem is, for a lot of people, that is very important to them. And they will keep going to church, they'll keep going to Mass and stuff like that because it does touch them on a deep level. And it doesn't with me, and it never really has. That was just kind of part of the religion and something I went into. Um, a while back, I used to read Catholic theology. I don't know, I just completely lost interest in it a while back, and I just don't really read that or church history or any of that stuff anymore. I just don't have the same emotional, intellectual connection to it that a lot of people do in these circles. And I think for a lot of people, regardless of what happens with the Pope, regardless what happens with all this other stuff, their identity as a Catholic is just very strong, and that will keep them in the church. I've never really had much of a Catholic identity. What it came down to when I decided which church I was going to join is did they share my view on social issues? And did I think they had valid sacraments? And that was pretty much it. The only reason I didn't become Anglican was because they ordained women and they had some other dubious social positions. I didn't become Orthodox because I'm not Eastern European. And really, the only things that keep me in the church today, other than the fact that I don't want to be a spiritual, not religious person, is one, peer pressure. Because basically all my friends are Catholic, most of them traditional Catholics, most of them Latin Mass Catholics, and I feel like if I left, I would be out of place and it would be really awkward, and a lot of my viewers would leave me and stuff like that. And it would be hard for me to give up on something that all the people I respect believe in. It just would make me feel foolish and that I'm the odd one out. The other thing is, frankly, I do feel almost sometimes that it's superstitious, but I do have a deep fear that outside the church there is no salvation, and that without priests with valid sacraments who can issue absolution, then I'm basically doomed to go to hell. And so even if I hate it, even if it's something that I like don't enjoy, even if it depresses me and just a lot of aspects of it are not helpful to me, I feel because I'm afraid of hell and I'm afraid of eternal damnation, and because is the only way to be sure that you're removing sin is to go to confession, to go to mass and stuff like that, and to die in communion with the church. I'm just kind of too scared to leave just over that. That's just been ingrained very deeply in me. And it almost feels to me sometimes like it's just a very superstitious belief. And every time I'm about to leave, that fear just keeps building within me. And then I don't decide to do that. That and peer pressure is, as I said, largely the reason I'm still around. If I was to stop being Catholic, honestly, I don't think I would join another apostolic denomination like Orthodox. I'd probably just become a conservative, non denominational Christian. My personal love and faith in Jesus Christ isn't tied into the church. I would be a Christian regardless, and I would believe in Christ regardless, and I would believe in God regardless, and in Christian values. It's I'm a lot less, and you've probably noticed this over time. A lot less denominationally inclined than a lot of other people. For me, it's more about moral, spiritual, and political values. and social values really than it is about the specifics of the denomination. It's just that apostolic succession and sacramentality and all these things are just too convincing for me. And so it often just feels like I'm in kind of this abusive relationship wherein it's something that makes me actively unhappy, but it would be too bad if I left. There's too many negatives to leaving, even if I just really don't enjoy myself. And I don't know, as I've said, I find it a struggle oftentimes to drag myself to church. I find it very hard. I find it hard to sit through it. And this has always been an issue. This has been an issue since I converted. I just kind of thought maybe I'll fake it till I make it, that kind of thing. But I don't know. I try to be faithful. I go to confession every other month. I try to go to Mass every week. I fast during Lent, all that kind of stuff. But it just, I don't know. Like, what's even the point? What's the point if the head of your religion and what your religion teaches, and we can once again go down this whole it's the Pope's private opinion, it's just irony, bro, whatever you want to say, but what's the point if what you're doing and what you're supporting is evil, or is projecting something that you think is evil and is wrong and is bad for society? What choice do you make? Do you say yes because the Catholic Church is the true church? I support same-sex unions. I think the death penalty is wrong. I support open borders. Or do you say no? I'm going to place my conscience above it. I'm going to pull a Martin Luther. Here I stand. And I don't know anymore. And it's rough. It's really rough. I haven't reached any kind of decision. It's for someone like me who doesn't have a particularly strong tie to begin with. This stuff really, really hurts. It hurts me more than I think a lot of people who are more tied to the Latin Mass or something like that. So I don't know. I just wanted to share that and get that out there. God bless, guys. I hope things get better or I come to some sort of decision.